Hello, and welcome to the Boost Over Ball podcast. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Boost Over Ball podcast. This is going to be a little bit different of an episode, but we're just going to jump right in. So first, a little bit of housekeeping information. This week I will be answering some questions that we got in response to our interview with Danielle Sarikis, in kind of a follow-up on some more recruitment and scholarship information. Next week, December 5th, we will begin our coverage of the fall major with our major preview. The week after that, being December 12th, we'll do a major wrap-up and kind of everything having to do with the fall split, with that being over. Then the next 3 weeks, December 19th, December 26th, and January 2nd, will be interviews. I think we're looking to try and expose some people to different competitive leagues that aren't necessarily professional. And we're going to try to keep everyone up to date with roster moves and kind of some silly season transfer window items. And that'll take us into 2023, which, as I'm saying, it sounds weird to say, but we are excited to be able to bring you the content that we are, and I look forward to continuing it. But without further ado, today, like I said, I will be answering some questions that were given to us in response to our interview about collegiate esports. So, without further ado, I'll jump into the first question, which is, what makes a player worth picking up? And, I mean, this is as a collegiate esports coach, this is kind of a subjective question, right? So, different players in different games, I'm going to focus on Rocket League mostly, have different skill sets. There are certainly very mechanical players, and those are always nice to have, but you need to, in my experience, you need to have a pretty well-balanced, team-oriented team to be able to find success at high levels in Rocket League. You see players that are extremely, extremely mechanical, but aren't able to necessarily win at the biggest level. So what makes a player worth picking up is going to be up to the coach and the program. So we specifically at LTU look for people that are going to embody what we look for in a human being. First and foremost, are you team oriented? Are you going to put in the work and the time that it takes to be the best student, person, and player that you can be? You're going to be someone that helps out your teammates with, not only with, ideas and game mechanics, but, potentially homework or anything that they may ask your help with. But rank certainly is going to be, on a playing side, kind of the minimum requirement. So a team like Rochester University, who just won the Wolverine Hoosier Athletic Conference, the conference that we compete in's championship, they have a full SSL team, and that is kind of now, high GC, low SSL is going to be their jumping off point for newer recruits. but just because you aren't necessarily higher level doesn't mean that you don't have anything to offer. We are currently recruiting for anybody who's willing to give us a listen, right? So we are going to recruit for our club team, our, B team, as well as, if you're good enough, you can compete for a spot on the A team. So we're trying to build out a program that is inviting to all people. And, even if you're necessarily not playing, but you still want to be involved in the game, as Danielle said last time, there's different options for you to be involved in a program without necessarily playing. But, for me, the ultimate things that make a player worth it are going to be character, dedication, and drive. And if they check all those boxes for me, I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be given a serious look. Second, how do you decide scholarships? If you don't currently give them out, what could change to make that happen? So I am fortunate enough that I coach at a school where we do allow scholarships. It is a private university, so tuition is going to be a little bit higher. The scholarships that we give go hand in hand with the academic scholarships that the university give out based on high school academic performance. And I'm very fortunate that we are able to offer scholarships to students to entice them to come to our school. They're not full ride scholarships, but they are a good amount of money. So scholarships are decided, kind of goes hand in hand with, what students are worth picking up. So if there's a player that I deem to be special or really desirable for the program, we will offer them a scholarship. And we are fortunately right now in a position where we can offer a lot of scholarships because our team is not full. So it makes me feel very fortunate that we are in a position to be able to do that. So right now, it's a little bit different of a experience for larger universities. So, I can speak on Purdue University. I played for one of their teams when I was a student there, but it's a club team. So they don't get support from the university. They don't get scholarships. They just happen to be good because the amount of students that enroll in Purdue are a lot, and there's bound to be some players that are good at Rocket League that go there. So the larger universities, especially your Big Ten schools being from the Midwest, don't support varsity esport programs. I think the biggest school currently that fully endorses their program is the University of Akron in Ohio. They have a multi-million-dollar esports facility. Their esports athletes are considered varsity athletes. They get priority scheduling, just like, some like football players. They go see a sports therapist. They see like a strength and conditioning coach. They take it very seriously, and it shows. That's why they're consistently one of the best collegiate Rocket League teams in the nation. But from a kind of a board of trustees perspective for a university, I'll take something like the University of Michigan for example. They are a very prestigious school. They've won a lot of athletic events and competitions, but they don't compete in esports with only bigger schools that they would in a sport like football, right? So you're someone like, Northwood University in Midland, Michigan, could realistically compete against the University of Michigan and beat them. And that's a 1,000 person school that's not athletically on the same level as Michigan, but in esports, they don't have the same they don't need the same amount of resources to draw in recruits and to bring students to their school. So they can lose to schools that they wouldn't in traditional athletics. And I don't know that people are as open to that as they could be. So I unfortunately see a little bit of time before some of the bigger schools will fully endorse a varsity esports program. So they will be open to competing with everyone. But it does give smaller and private schools the opportunity to get a leg up, to build their program, to establish themselves before some of those bigger schools with more resources come in to try and, establish their programs. 3, what do you see as a major challenge to your university right now when it comes to competing against bigger scholarship schools or more well-known schools. So in Rocket League specifically, the Northwood has been on top for a couple of years now. Akron's up there. They continue to gain notoriety by continuing to perform at such a high level, by being able to bring in players who are extremely high ranking and even in some cases pro players. So competing against that is going to be a little bit difficult. However, we are very fortunate that a lot of people play Rocket League. A lot of people that have put in a lot of time and effort into the game are becoming of college age and are eligible to be recruited or to be given scholarships. But as a second-year program, we're still trying to build name recognition and brand recognition and attract students to our school. And as Danielle talked about in the last episode, we are a technological university, so engineering and tech STEM majors are going to be very big. And we are both big proponents of being a student first before you're an athlete, so it really limits some of the students who don't want that type of major. And I, as well as Danielle, would recommend that those students, if LTU does not have the major that you are looking for, not to settle. To be able to go for that major at a different university would be a better option. So being able to compete against larger schools, there is an opportunity, like I mentioned before, to beat schools that you normally otherwise wouldn't be able to in other conventional sports, but you don't have that brand recognition, you don't have the same amount of money that you can dish out in scholarships, and you don't have the resources to be able to build state-of-the-art facilities. So not having a state-of-the-art facility and the amount of scholarship money that other schools can throw around is probably the biggest challenge to building a large, successful, and competitive program. 4, what are the benefits to your school for having an esports program? I think that it's certainly a revenue stream. I think that esports are becoming more and more popular and more mainstream because you need far less material, technology, money to be able to view and enjoy the content. You just need a device that has an internet connection. And with everybody having smartphones now, it makes it a lot easier to gain access to and consume esports content and competitions. So for conventional sports, you need to have a TV, you need to have cable, and you need to have the specific channel that you're trying to watch. Or you need to be able to go to a facility that has those places, like a Buffalo Wild Wings or something like that. So it can potentially be a stumbling block in that situation, but with esports, you can watch anywhere. Your phone, a computer, you can stream it to a TV, you can use a smart TV to get it, and you have access all the time, anywhere. But in addition to that, there's a lot of esports-related jobs and careers that you can pursue that you could gain exposure to by having a program. So, for instance, being able to stream or to shoutcast or to do video or audio production, those are all things that a program would desperately want to excel in. So, the better your stream and the better your production quality, the more viewers and the easier it is to enjoy the content. The next benefit of your school having an esports program is that computers are used for more than just gaming. Well-built gaming computers can also be used to do, high-level coding classes, Photoshop or video editing classes, or graphic design or CAD work. All of those things can be handled by a higher-end PC than what you would normally see in like a high school or a regular computer lab. It just kind of allows for a wider variety of options because computers are used for not just gaming. And the last question is, going to college and grinding to a career in esports seems antithetical to each other. In one In one sense, you're full-time developing some skill set for professional use. In the other, you're grinding some gameplay that has no application outside of the genre of the game. Are you preparing people for a professional career in esports? If not, what is the realistic end goal of your player development? What have you done and plan to do to support these goals? Well, the way I look at it for an esports athlete as well as a conventional collegiate athlete for conventional sports, not everybody's going to go pro. It's just the way that it is. It's a very small percentage of people that get to play professionally in any sport, esports included in that. And so a lot of collegiate athletes use their talent and ability to give them a leg up, being able to go to a school that they otherwise wouldn't have been able to, trying to get the best education that they can for the least amount of money by utilizing the talents and abilities that they have to gain less expensive education. I see esports very similarly. So if you are a tremendous Rocket League player, then by all means get the biggest scholarship you can and go to the best school possible. Professional Rocket League is becoming younger and younger. At the World Championships in August of 2022, the oldest player was 24 years old. Most of them under 18. And by the time you're college age, most of the people that are playing college Rocket League either already are pro or are on the bubble. So by that age, you should really know if you're going to be able to go pro or not. And so by utilizing the skill set that you have and all of the time that you've currently spent in game, you can leverage that to get the best education you can for the least amount of money. On top of that, if people are wanting to pursue a career in esports, there are definitely things that you can do outside of playing that we can help prepare you for. So being a newer program, we have one of our competitive Call of Duty players. She is a graphic design major. She makes logos and game day graphics for our team. That is something that she can put on her resume and, explain and show to people that this is what she did for the team, and it's a direct correlation to something that she would be able to do in the professional environment or, a career job for her. In addition, you can do video or audio production, working on streams, doing shoutcasting. Those are things that there's a possibility for you to do outside of esports or, even for esports. So in my eyes, the realistic end goal for all of my players is for them to succeed academically first. So, we have on my team currently some engineers, a marketing major. I want them to be a successful student and to become an engineer as their first option, using Rocket League as a means to the end, so to speak. And, if they become good enough or if they have the drive and want to play professionally, then go for it. But don't let that come at the expense of your academic career. It's something that Danielle and I both feel very strongly about, and I'm hopeful that people understand that in our eyes, they're student athletes in that order. So, they should really focus on their futures as well as the team, because, over 90% of collegiate athletes will not go pro in their sport. Those are some awesome questions. I really appreciate, everyone asking the questions that they did. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them on Twitter, to tweet at us at boost_over_ball, or to hit me up on Discord, and you're welcome to ask them there anytime. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter episode today, but with the fall major coming up, I'm going to jump into a player profile. And now it's time for a player spotlight. And for today's player profile, I have chose Space Station Gaming's LJ. LJ, or Logan Wilt, was born in the United States on April 23rd, 2005, which makes him 17 years old. One of the older players that we've taken a look at, looking at like apparently Jack and Oski, and he has been an active player since 2018. As I mentioned earlier, he currently plays for Space Station Gaming. LJ began his career with Jamal Jabari in 2020. That kind of his first notable professional team, where he played for 2 months before going to BOSF Esports, and while there for 4 months before going back to Jamal Jabari, and eventually being picked up by Oxygen in March of 2021. He stayed with Oxygen for about 6 months before he was picked up by Space Station in September. They have looked very good on Space Station, him alongside the young Daniel and Arsenal. They've made a formidable team, and they've been, unfortunately, the model of consistency in NA. 3 top 4s in all of the events in this split thus far. Nothing more, nothing less. They've looked extremely well throughout the Swiss. They have qualified every time with no issue, and they are able to take the quarterfinal series every time. But like I mentioned earlier, they lose 4-1 every single time in the semifinals. So moving forward towards the fall major, I think that they will be looking for and expecting better of themselves as they look to try and take a international title. So I'm looking forward to seeing the 3 of them play when they take the stage the second weekend in December for the fall major in Rotterdam. And that'll wrap up our player spotlight. I'm sorry for the shorter episode this week. I tried to bring a couple of different people for interviews this week, and it just kind of didn't pan out. Things fell through. I wasn't able to get the people that I wanted, but as I mentioned, Ace and I will be back next week doing our fall major preview, our wrap up, our fall major preview, our predictions, our big story points heading into the major, some bold predictions, and generally explain the format and what we're excited to see and what we hope we see. So thank you all for listening. I appreciate you sticking with me this week. Please make sure to follow us on social media. I will put the links down in the episode description. And I'd like to give a big shout out to Patrick Sullivan, the music artist for our intro and outro. His social media links, as well as his SoundCloud and Spotify, will be also in the episode description. And I'd like to give another shout out to Jock Matthew, who did the sound for our player spotlight segment. His SoundCloud will also be listed below. So again, thank you so much to those guys for the music, and I think that I can speak for everyone when saying we really enjoy it. But thank you so much for listening, and remember, as always, choose boost over ball. Thank you for listening to the Boost Over Ball podcast.